Welcome back, everyone. So let's get back to our codes and continue where we left off. So we have started something for now. We have just created this login and welcome, and these will be deleted. And let's first start by a tag called div, because in previous session I wrote div in new block elements, but I don't remember if we've used it before. So what is div used? Div is short for division, because so many times when we are designing a website, we have so many divisions in our web page. For example, if we take a look at this, we can consider this blue part here a division. Consider this card, this whole card here, a division. Okay, or even this email and password here is a division, or these three icons here is a division. So because we have different divisions in our web page, it's a good idea to wrap all of those tags inside a div tag, and this div tag is very used in web pages. You can see a lot of div tags in any web page. So let's get back to our codes here. Let's delete these tests here. And first of all, inside our body tag here, let's cut this too. First of all, we have a div here. It's a division, and we can have nested divs. This div is for all of this section here, and we will use margin or padding. We will become familiar with padding in this session, don't worry. We will use margin or padding to create a space between this card here and the space around it. So we have a division for that card, we have a division for this white space area and this blue area. So let's cut this here, and let's create a new div here, a division here. When someone first starts working with HTML, he always wonders, why do we have to use all of these div tags? Because first of all, it helps us to arrange our codes, and second of all, it helps us to select those with CSS easily. We will see in future how these divs can be even more helpful. Okay, let's create another div here. This div is for our blue section, and we can use something called comment. Comments exist in pretty much any programming language, and when we want to have something that we don't want to be rendered, but we want to have that, for example, something that explains our code. For example, here I want to determine that this div here is for our white area, it's for our white area. Okay, but when I come back here and hit refresh, this white area will be presented here, but I don't want this piece of text be rendered. I just want this to be something that helps other developers to understand my code, or for even ourselves to understand code. If I hit Control// here, this Control/ creates this piece of text to a comment, and as you can see, first of all, the color turned to green, which shows us this is a comment, and second of all, we use these characters to determine that this text is a comment, and comments will be completely ignored by browser. And so this is it. Let's get back to our code, and we hit refresh, and we no longer see that. And when he hit Control U shows us their source code. We can see that white area still exists there, but while rendering, Google Chrome just completely ignored it. Okay. So let's get back to our codes. So we have a division for our white area. We have another division for like our blue area. Okay, blue area, and this div, this div completely will be our card section. Card. section. I call it card because it's really common to call this fragments a card, because take a look at this. It kind of looks like a card, and this card is very often used in programming world. So let's get back to our codes. First of all, let's get back to here. I want to have this, we said that we have a property called background color, okay? And we want to select this tag and say that we want to have a blue color for this, okay? So I can go ahead and say div, okay, background color, for example, blue. But there's a problem with this. You see the problem? When I say div, the background color is red, is blue, it applies this background color to all of div tags. This tag, this tag, this tag. So what happens is everything becomes blue, and that's not what I meant. So there's something in CSS, it's called class. We can have a class attribute for anything that we want, class attribute, okay? And we can name it whatever we want. For example, John, okay? Or anything that we like. But let's have a relevant name. For example, I can call it, for example, here, blue area, okay? Just that's it. And when we are naming our classes, we should use kebab case. And what is kebab case? Well, we cannot have a space in our names. For example, I cannot use blue area, okay? If I use blue area, it means that this div has two classes, one class called blue, the other one is called area. But no, since we cannot have a space in our texts, we use something dash here, or hyphen, sorry. This is called a kebab case because it kind of looks like a kebab, and we can now, instead of going select div, if I want to have select everything with a blue area, if I write blue area, so of course browser looks for any tag that calls blue area, and we have no such tag. So that's why in CSS we have some characters or operators, okay? The dot character is an operator for selecting classes. For example, when I say dot blue area, it means go ahead and select everything that has a class called blue area and apply this background color to that. So let's get back to our code, hit refresh, and the first thing that you say, wait a minute, where's that div? Why we don't see that blue area? Why? Let's in order to find the answer, let's go to inspect element. As we can see, this is our div, this is our div, this is our div, and this is the div with blue area. Since we have no contents in it, it means it has no height. Remember, the height of elements will be automatically determined. Since we have no content in it, it has no height, and since it has no height, it's just not being displayed. So for starter, let's have a temp text. I call it temp text because I want to have a temporary text in it so that it has a height and we will see it, and of course we will see it, but not in that order that we wanted, because in our card section, our white area is on left and our blue area is on right. We will fix that in future, but for now, let's get back to our codes, and just we have this blue area, and even the color are not exactly blue. We will fix that too. This blue is very different with this blue here. We will fix that too. But the first thing that I want to fix that is that this our card area. So I give a class to this, class card. I call it card, and this I assign another class to this, and I call it white area, okay? And I will be able to select them in future with class names. And another selector that I want you to know about is a star selector. A star selector, as it looks like, it means select everything. And it's very common that usually developers use this star margin 0 and padding 0 in their codes, because browsers usually have default margin and padding for tags. Don't worry, I will talk about padding just in this session, just wait. And they want to set margin and padding of everything to 0 and control the margin and padding by themselves. They don't want to use default margin and paddings that browsers have. So this is something that I use and I recommend you to use, and this is very useful. So we have this star in our codes, and don't worry, I will tell you about the third way of writing CSS codes. We have learned two ways, a style tag and a style attribute. Okay, let's get back to our code. So I want to select this card class, okay, let's select this card class and give it a margin dot card here, and I want to give it a margin about around, for example, let's say 50 pixels. Okay, 50 pixel margin for this card, and hit refresh. As you can see, this login here has a margin from around it, and if I go inspect element and hover this div, we can see that orange area around that div. If you take a look at this, this is an element which it's telling us the element itself is occupying 860 pixel width and 64.5 pixel of height. Okay, it says it has no padding, it has no border, because we will see we can have border, and it has 50 pixel of margin. So you might guess what padding is. Margin is external space, but padding is internal space. In order to understand the difference, let's say we have a padding of 25 pixels. So margin and padding are pretty much similar, but have differences. Let's get back to our codes and hit refresh. And as you can see, this div now here has 50 pixel margin of this space around it and has 25 pixel of padding inside it. So let's get back to our codes and fix background colors. For now, as you can see, this is a gradient because it doesn't have a solid background. For example, red, blue, or white or green. It kind of moves from a color to another color. This is called gradient. We will learn how to use gradient, don't worry. But for now, I just give it a pink color. So I can go ahead and select our body tag. Let's go here and we can use our body tag, okay, and give it a background color of pink for now, okay. Let's get back to our code here. This is pink, but as you know that we have something called inheritance in CSS. What does inheritance mean? Some properties will be inherited. For example, here I said body should have the background color of pink. So the background will be applied to body as well as everything that is inside body, or in fact, children of body. They are called children. For example, this div is a child of this div. Okay, these two divs are sibling. These terms are exactly used. So in order to make this card white, we can give it another property, which background color white. For now, we are only using color names. We will see different ways of writing colors, because we have 60 million colors, about 60 million colors, when we cannot have a name for all of them. So there must be a different way, and there is. So this is our background color. We will fix it to a gradient. This is our white space area, and we will learn how to put this white space area into right. We can move it to right, and this is this to left, and we will see that. And that's it for this session. This is all I wanted you to learn, except something which we will check in our PowerPoint. So if we take a look at our PowerPoint, so when I say understanding the difference of margin and padding, the difference is not very clear for the moment, but it becomes more obvious, the difference, in future. But for now, just know the words of internal, external, or inner and outer space. Just have that in mind. That's enough. And you know that we use div tag in order to arrange our codes. It helps us to have even a more readable code. And this ID thing is that I wanted to mention. As we just saw, class attribute, there's something called ID as well. Because class attribute is used to select tags specifically in CSS, also IDs exist as well. For example, let's have our h1 tag here, h1 tag, which is a log in here, because if we take a look at the this is there's a login here. Okay, h1 a login tag. Let's have an ID for this, and I can have an ID and saying okay, ID temp, because I want to remove this temp ID. And since we select classes with dots, we select IDs with another character, and that character is you can hashtag or pound or anything you call it, but I can temp, hashtag temp or pound temp, and I can select that temp class, and I can say color, for example, red. But I will clean it for in future, don't worry. Hit refresh, and as you can see, that login is in red color. But why I say ID is more powerful than class? Well, because let's imagine that something has both an ID and a class. Let's put class temp here, okay? When let's imagine that I say hashtag temp color red, and I say dot temp color blue. Okay, when I say that, let's here refresh, and you can see this is still red. When I hit refresh, this is still red, because ID selector is more powerful than red. But as a recommendation, try not to use ID. I just showed you ID because if you saw ID and this pound selector in somewhere, you know what it does. But I recommend you not to use ID and use classes instead. And about the star selector, remember what it does, and remember how can we put comment in our code, and what characters we use, and they will be ignored. And you can take a screenshot of this and anything. These are our new tags, because I can remember that I told you I will tell you if anything has a specific attribute, but for now div p, h1, h2, h6, h3, h4, they do not have any specific attributes, so that's why I didn't mention anything. But these are some new tags from this session and previous session. These are some new attributes that we learned, and these are some new CSS properties. So that's it. See you in next session.